UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Ankalaev 2. Here are my reactions. Just went down some crazy knockouts, some good fights. But first fight up was Joshua Van versus Felipe Bunez. Joshua Van was a minus 278 favorite. And Felipe Bunez actually came out really heavy, looking really good on the strikes, getting a lot of kicks, a lot of straight punches, and landing on Joshua Van. He kind of staggered Joshua a little bit in that first round. But as we've seen in the last two fights, Joshua Van takes that first round to just feel out his opponent, kind of like Peter Yan. And then he went to town on Felipe Bunez. I mean, he got his distance. He started going in a lot closer, landing hooks, uppercuts, I mean, overhands, body shots, and eventually he just, man, he took him down and beat the crap out of him. So that was Joshua Van. Looking really impressive for a 22-year-old. Looks composed. Looks like he has a good gas tank, has really good technique. He's got a really good chin, this kid. He just looks really freaking strong. So I really like Joshua Van and what I've seen so far. Yeah, all right. So next fight, Nicholas Mota versus Tom Nolan. And I actually went over why I did not bet on Tom Nolan in this fight, because I've learned that unproven guys, even if they look good versus a bunch of cans, they're not reliable. And so that's why I did not put money on Tom Nolan. I did think he was going to win, though. I thought he would look much better, but he just rushed everything, and that was really bad to do versus Nicholas Mota, because that's who Nicholas does best against. He's more of a counter striker, and he does have heavy power. So he caught Tom heavy on the chin, knocked him down and started landing some heavy punches when he had him in turtle. So, man, really disappointing loss, I'm sure, by Tom Nolan. But those odds were kind of crazy. Yeah. And then Weston Wilson versus Gian Silva. I mean, I predicted that Weston Wilson and everyone else that he was going to get absolutely obliterated, and that were the odds, minus 900. Gian Silva looks really good. Heavy hands, chin down, good movement, look composed, looks experienced. And when he lands, man, he lands really hard. And Weston Wilson has absolutely zero head movement. He's got a poor chin, and he does not have heavy strikes. So this guy should really contemplate retiring, in my opinion. I think he needs to save himself, his brain cells. Like, I'm just trying to help this guy, right? So, man, that was rough to watch. But Farid Basharat versus Taylor Lapilus, and this kind of went how I thought it would go. Farid looked really good all around. His striking is not bad. It doesn't have the best boxing, but he's got a really good gas tank and good wrestling. And Taylor Lapilus just couldn't keep up, right? Every time Taylor would start to get going, Farid Basharat shot in and timed that takedown again. And it's hard to beat someone who has a good tank, who has good wrestling, and if you're not hurting him really bad on the feet. And that's exactly what happened this fight. So Farid Basharat, good win. I think Taylor definitely needs to work on his wrestling. That's for sure, because a lot of guys are going to beat him up with the wrestling. But next fight, Marcus McGee versus Gaston Bolanos. This is one of the two bets I put down, and the only guy I was really confident betting on was Marcus McGee, and he absolutely torched Gaston Bolanos, torched him on the feet. I mean, I don't think Marcus McGee got hit he only got hit one time this whole fight. Landon, really good movement, kind of just like Gian Silva had good movement. Marcus McGee rolls with punches, really good pot shots, good counters, just very quick and powerful. And he completely outclassed Gaston Bolanos. Gaston just looks really stiff on the feet. Just could never really get his timing down. And I think, honestly, he just got concussed way too early. And if you're concussed for someone who's much quicker than you and stronger than you, yeah, they're going to beat the shit out of you. That's basically how it goes. Next fight, Matthew Semmelsberger versus Preston Parsons. This was a no bet for me for many reasons. First of all, Matthew Semmelsberger, I thought, he could have easily knocked out Parsons before I watched this fight in that first round, just because from what I've seen, Preston got hit just way too many times versus Trevin Giles. But he had much better head movement. He was much more patient and calculated this fight. And that's great for him because he still had that tank and pressure. That's why I didn't bet on Matthew, because I thought if it got to the second and third rounds, Preston was going to really put it on him. And so Preston did. Took him down, beat him up pretty much everywhere, outclassed him, got him in submission attempts. And grinded him out on a really good win. So Preston Parsons looked really good. Look for that guy. Next fight, snooze fest. I really don't like what Waldo Cortez Acosta did during this fight. All the shenanigans versus Andrei Arlovski, looping punches, hardly any straight shots, not a lot of volume. If you want to make an impression in the UFC, you really got to take advantage of these moments and knock out Andrei Arlovski. Okay, because Waldo Cortez's stock, I think, went down with this fight. Andrei Arlovski is on the tail end of his career. He looked really slow, and he was looping shots when usually he's a little more crisp on the feet. Andrei Arlovski didn't really have much. He was doing his thing, kind of playing coy, sitting back like he does, and not throwing a lot. And Waldo just kind of did the same thing because he was afraid he was going to get countered. Doing all these dances and stupid shit when he should have pressured and really, really put it on him. But, that just shows that Waldo's got a long way to go, technically. He's got to get better boxing, better kickboxing, better wrestling, because a good opponent who has good wrestling, he would have pressured Andrei Arlovski with the strikes and then went for takedowns, kind of like Marcos Lima did. All right, so, but it is what it is. Next fight, Phil Haas versus Bruno Ferreira. Bruno looked like an absolute savage in this fight. He kind of proved a lot this fight. He looked really good versus Phil Haas. He landed knees, heavy punches. He looked good on the feet, looked pretty quick. Looked powerful for a shorter, stockier guy. I think he could have went for another couple more rounds. So I do like what I saw. Absolutely smashed Phil Haas. Phil Haas, I don't know what it is about this guy. He looks so yoked, but his chin is just completely gone. Like, out of all he could throw a punch, he could throw like 50 punches and kicks at one guy, and the guy could throw one and he's done. Like, that's what. It's funny because I actually thought Phil Haas might have a slight advantage if it went to the second and third round. So I thought he might be better technically. But of course, I would never bet on him. That's why I never bet on him. But next fight, Mario Bautista versus Ricky Simone. Mario Bautista coming out with a huge win. Huge win. He looked incredible. And I actually put 4 units for this fight to go the distance, -150. I thought the odds were really good because they're both super, super tough. They're both good technically. And in a 3-round fight, 2 really technical, tough guys are probably not going to knock each other out. So I thought those odds are really good. I took advantage of it, and I cashed it, baby. Let's go. I'll start putting out some more of my confident bets in the future. But yeah, Mario Bautista, great cardio, great strength in that second and third round. That's definitely, what his go-to game plan is usually, to employ that. And Ricky Simone looked good in that first round. Takedowns, good strikes, but then same thing happened, in that Yudong Song fight. He kind of just, his technique gets a little worse. He rushed takedowns. And I think that goes with his striking not being up to par. So then he has to make up for that by just going super hard. But then versus the good guys like Mario Bautista and higher ranked guys, it's not going to work. So I think Ricky Simone needs to get much better at his striking and power. He needs to hit the heavy bag and speed bag and just work on that boxing really focus on that and then come back. And I think he could be really much better. But if he doesn't work on his boxing, I don't think he's going to be a contender. All right, next fight, Jim Miller versus Gabriel Benitez. Jim Miller looked good, man. You know, he's, what is he, 40 years old? This guy is incredible. I cannot believe this guy. I did think he was going to have the edge just because Benitez has been out for a couple years. And, Jim obviously had the, wrestling advantage as well, which proved to be huge in this fight. Gabriel Benitez was piecing him up on the feet with his boxing, but Jim was really tough and just kept kicking the shit out of Gabriel. And then when things would get crazy and Gabriel would get close, Jim Miller would time to take down and take him down, and just he grinded out a good win and ended up submitting Gabriel Benitez when his arm wasn't even in. It was kind of like one of these where it like just covers your mouth and like chokes you out that way. Great win by Jim Miller. He's looking really impressive, man. He's looking really good for his age. I'm really impressed. Gabriel Benitez, yeah, I mean, he's a good fighter. He just tends to fade in the second and third round, and I think he maybe needs to work on his strength. He's not as strong as a lot of guys, but his technique and power is good. It's just his, I don't know, endurance and takedown defense also. So that's something that definitely needs to work on. Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker coming out of that first round just expending way too much energy with all these spinning kicks, spinning punches, capoeira moves, and then Magomed Ankalaev literally just stayed there, was super patient that first round, just being technical, hitting Johnny Walker with good shots when he can, with like legs, hitting him in the legs, got him really good on the chin that first round. And then second round, he was good enough. He just put it on him. But Magomed looked much better in terms of his striking. He looks like he's been really working on, countering leg kicks and coming up with the game plan for that. And he employed that like perfectly versus Johnny Walker. So I actually thought Johnny Walker would do a little bit better. But man, it's just he leaves his chin up in the air. He's proven time and time again his fight IQ is not good versus high-level fighters. So this is, man, I feel bad for him because he's got to go back down again and work his way up again. But, like, dude, he's been knocked out so many times, man. His chin's just got to be, like, completely gone at this point. So that is my recap of UFC. Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. Watch out, guys, this week. I'll be coming out with more content as well as predictions for next week. Sean Strickland versus Dricus Duplessis. All right, later, guys.